$120 for this? Is it worth it? Let's find out. What's up guys? Welcome back to Will's Record channel. So this right here is the very much anticipated IKE Foam Pro 2. It's a long name, but they added the E, which means this is the electric version of this very popular IK foamer here. And if you're new to detailing, this IK foamer is used by every detailer out there. It's insane how popular this is in the detailing world. So what it really is a pump sprayer. So you build up pressure by pumping it like this, and this sprayer head will aerate the liquid to make it foam. So this right here is the same thing as this, but with the electric compressor built into it. So you no longer have to pump it like this and tire out your arms and pump it 5 times to just spray down one side of the car. However, this IK foamer right here is about $35 to $40 depending on the day and where you buy it from. But this, the electric version, is $120. So the question becomes, is this actually worth it? So not only will we be answering that question today, we'll also be comparing it to these very popular electric foamers / sprayers. So these are actually quite a bit more affordable, so it will be a very interesting test. Before we get to that, let's take a quick look at what this IKE Foam Pro 2 looks like. So yeah, this is like a taller version of the regular IK sprayer. So here's the old one, and this is like the older brother. It's just taller, it's heavier at the bottom, actually doesn't tip over as easily now. And you get these colored end caps that you can put at the bottom to kind of give you a visual mark as to what chemicals in it. You also get these different valves that will allow different amounts of liquid into the head. So your foam will be drier or wetter that way. And you get a charging cord. Of course, this charges through USB-C, and some instructions. So first impression, holding it in my hand, it's definitely a lot heavier than this original one because all the weight is at the bottom. There's a battery and a compressor all down here. So you'll feel the heft definitely. And if you fill this all the way up, you gotta have some muscles too to be able to handle this with ease. So how this works, it only has one single button. It's just the power button right here. So all you need to do is you hold this button until the green comes on, and you just press the button and it will start pumping. Now I gotta say, that's quite loud. It's certainly something that you'll have trouble hearing someone talking to you while this is going. So something to keep in mind. But it does pump up pretty quickly. So there's not much to go over with this sprayer. It's very simple. It doesn't overcomplicate things, which is a good thing. But the main purpose of this video is going to be comparing it to these different options and look at their differences. So very quickly, the biggest difference between the IK and these two is that the compressor. This is a compressor at the bottom. It will pump up the chamber in here, and that air pressure is what shoots out the liquid. But these have a pump and battery up here, is at the head. So when you hold down this button right here, it will activate the pump and it'll start drawing liquid and spray it out at the front. So it's a different kind of system. The way IK does it will actually give you a more even and well distributed foam out of the tip. So we'll see that in the video later. Now, of course, there's going to be pros and cons to each design. With this, you get a better lower center of gravity, so this doesn't tip over as easily. But when you hold it, you do feel the weight kind of dragging it down a little bit. And with the electronic components down here, hopefully the water doesn't get dragged down by gravity and seep into the components in there. But they do advertise it to be very water resistant, so hopefully that won't be an issue in the long term. Now with these, you don't need any pumping time. So as soon as you put on the head, you can press the button and it will start foaming. But the downside is when you don't have a lot of liquid down here, the top is heavier, so it will tip over a little easier too. So depending on your use case, that might be a problem or it might not. So with that being said, let's get to testing them and see the kind of foam they produce. So I got the 3 sprayers over here, and they all have the same Incredible Suds mixture in it. I kind of forgot what mixture it was. It's probably
64 to 1, around there. But they're all gonna have the same mixture, so that way it's a apples to apples comparison. Now, let's try out the IK eFoam Pro. Now, I've not tried this yet. I don't even know how it's gonna spray, but I'm assuming it's going to spray the same exact way as the normal IK Foam Pro. So you press the button, hold it to turn on. So the light is green now. Just press the button. Oh, that's already pumped. So as you can see, I don't have a lot of liquid in here. And that pumped up actually pretty quick, faster than I thought. I got this little black fender over here. Now that's the only black piano I can find so far. Let's see how this sprays. That's insane. Super even across the board. So you don't see you don't see a heavy spot up here or down here. It's pretty even. So yeah, it sprays just like the normal IK. Now I'm gonna rinse this off and compare it to the other two. So this is my usual electric foamer. It can be used as a foamer and a sprayer at the same time. You just change out the tip. And this one, like I said earlier, it doesn't use a compressor to compress the air in here. It just uses an electric pump to spray out the liquid. So as soon as I press this button, it's going to spray. It is for sure a runnier foam from this little thing. Now I got one more, which is SPTA. These two have almost the same structure. It almost seems like they have the same pump in there. But of course, let's get to spraying it to see if it produces the same foam. So there we go, the SPTA. I think I should put more liquid in there. But as you can see, this is actually much thicker foam than my usual one. This just produces, runnier foam, whereas this is a much better dweller. And honestly, I'm pretty impressed by the foam produced by this. Even though they're very similar, the foam coming out of them is actually very different. So let's see that again. That's crazy. Notice how quiet this is too. You don't get that pump sound. It's just like a little humming from the machine, and only when you are spraying. Pretty crazy. So just out of curiosity, I'm gonna do half and half. Half of it will be the SPTA, and half of it will be the IK. I really wanna see how they compare, because the price difference is huge, guys. This is $120, the IK, and I know it's the well-known brand. Everyone has an IK foamer, and they just came out with this new one. It's the new hip stuff. But what I really want to find out here is the value of each product. What do you get out of the money you spend on these products? Do you really need to go as far as the IK and spend that $120 to get good results, or can other products achieve the same results? So here I'm gonna go with the IK. Very quickly, and SPTA. So it almost seems like the foam on the IK side is dwelling a little better, which is strange because I thought that side looked a little thicker. And again, this is the same soap, the same exact Incredible Suds mix. So I think by process of elimination, this sprayer is out. So now it's down to the SPTA versus the IK. And SPTA being the much cheaper option, very similar performance, I would say, especially for the price. So now we're gonna make it a little harder. I think the previous mix, Incredible Suds is such a high foaming soap. It was probably too easy for these two foamers. So I'm gonna make the mix a little more diluted. So I got a gallon of water right here. I'm only going to put half an ounce of Incredible Suds in here. So that'll be around 256 to 1. So that is pretty diluted. So we can see more of a difference between the two and not disparity in the foam. So just 1/2 ounce. Such a thick soap. I gotta really rinse this out of the cup. All right, so the soap is pretty well mixed in this bucket. Now, I'm not sure if you can see, but it has markings on it, which I really appreciate. So you can see how much liquid you have in there. And I think for both of them, I'm gonna put in the same amount and see how much liquid they use. So I'm gonna pour in 1 liter of the solution in here. The SPTA one also has the markings on it, and they're actually a little easier to read since it's not in clear, it's printed on the black plastic. So let's put the top on. And what I really like about the SPTA is it has this kind of quick connect. You don't have to keep turning, whereas the IK, the top, to put it in, you have to keep turning like this, about 2 rotations, 2.5, to get it screwed in. So I tend to prefer that design a little better. And also, this one's ready to go. I don't need to pump it. Whereas the IK, I do need to come and turn it on. And then it is significantly louder than this one when this is running. So I'm going to spray onto the back hatch of my car. This half will be the SPTA, and this half will be the IK. So from a little distance, it seems not as fine of a spray. So I do have to come back a second time to make sure it gets covered. And it does have a thicker part on the top and bottom. Now let's get to the IK. Oh yeah, so you can see this is a very even spray across. And now the pump kicks on. It was quicker for me to cover this whole side than that. It does take a little longer. Now let's see on a wet surface. Again, I do have to come back up to get it to make sure it's covered. And the IK, much quicker. It's a much more even and uniform spray. All right, so from cleaning the tailgate of the car, let's see how much liquid each one of these used. So 800 mils. Now I do have to say what I don't like about the SPTA is that the bottle is round, so it's really hard to grip. And this thing is pretty girthy too. Now I don't really have small hands, so to grip this thing is kind of hard. Looks like we got 700 mils. So it looks like the IK actually used less liquid because of how uniform the foam was. So when I was spraying, I didn't have to go back to the same area and spray again. But the SPTA, I had to go back and try to cover areas that it missed because the spray wasn't the most uniform across the whole pattern. Now what I want to do next is I want to figure out how much liquid each of these actually use when it's actually spraying. I'm going to put 500 mils of the same liquid in each bottle. And we can also see how efficient the straw designs on each of these will be to see when it stops spraying how much liquid is still left in there. So now I'm just gonna hold both of these down and see which one runs out of foam first. Ready? 3, 2, 1. Okay, it's completely out. The SPTA has just a little bit in there. Oh, now it's running out. It's just a little bit more efficient than this one. Look at this mess, guys. I just got this giant puddle of foam on my porch. All right, so now both of these are not foaming anymore. Let's see if there's any liquid left over in there. I do know that the IK has a cone shaped design underneath, so all the liquid will congregate to the center. Wow. Like 3 drops. This thing actually used up all the liquid in there. I do have the straw pointing at the center of it. Now let's look at the SPTA. Ooh, this thing is not easy to open. Wow. So you can see the SPTA does have a lot more liquid in there, and you have to swish it around to get the last bit of liquid to be picked up by the straw. So in terms of efficiency, I would say the IK wins.
Guys, I actually was not expecting this result. These two are actually more different than I thought. Even though they share the same exact trigger design, even the charging light is the same, which is weird. And the charging port is at the same area as well. So I was wondering if they were coming out of the same factory or this same pump design is from the same factory. But regardless of that, this does spray a thicker foam and this one sprays a runnier foam, which isn't a bad thing because it kind of depends on your preference. But if you do prefer that thicker foam, the SPTA does win out on that front. Now with the IK, this thing sprays the best foam and the most even, uniform spray pattern of all these three. And that's to be expected. This thing is $120. These two are $60. So double the price, but you do get a more efficient user experience. Like I was showing you when I was spraying on the tailgate, this thing could cover the whole tailgate with just 2 back and forth. Whereas the SPTA, I had to go back to fill the spots that were missing from the spray pattern. Because with how this is designed, the top and the bottom of the spray is going to be the most concentrated with foam, and the middle part kind of dies out a little bit. Whereas this is a very even spray. It doesn't really have a heavy spot in the spray pattern. So this will cover the area the best. However, I do have to say that the electric compressor down here is a little loud. So when it starts running, you can't really be talking to other people because this thing, it kind of drowns you out and drowns out other people's voices. So that's an annoying part. Whereas these, there is a working noise from these pumps, but they're nowhere near as loud as this compressor down here. And these will only make the noise when you're holding down the trigger. So as soon as you let go of the trigger, it stops. Whereas this will only stop if you manually stop it from the button down here or when the pressure reaches. Now these two, their foaming performance might not be as good as the IK, but these are a lot more affordable. And another thing that I want to touch on is if you're using any sprayers as just electric sprayers where you don't have to hand pump, then these come with a different tip that will just spray and not foam. So you can also use them as just regular sprayers if you're using it for rinseless washing. I highly recommend these instead of an IK like this, or even a hand pumping one. Those I don't even use anymore. Another thing that these do great, specifically this one, is that they have quick connect heads. I can just put it on and do a quarter turn. I don't have to keep threading it like this one does. But the SPTA is a little harder because this bottle is so thick, it's kind of hard to grip onto it, to hold it down and to turn. So I usually have to kind of hug it like this to turn it and to get it off like that. And to put it on too, I have to really grip it and then turn. But another downside is just the bulky design. So if you're looking for something a little slimmer, something that will fit in your spaces a little better, like this one, I still very much like this sprayer. Even though the foaming produces might not be as thick as the SPTA's, it just kind of depends on your preference. But this one is a little slimmer and a little easier to maneuver than the SPTA. And this one actually comes with an all metal brass tip to make this into a sprayer. However, if you're just getting one of these sprayers for just foaming purposes and you really like that thick foam, then I honestly think that you should go either one of these depending on your budget. And even though the IK is very expensive, the foam and the spray pattern that it produces, I find it actually saves me time when I'm using it. So efficiency is something you care a lot about, then honestly I think the IK might be worth the investment. Of all these three, I think the SPTA might be the best middle of the road option. You get the best value with good performance. It might not be the best, but it does everything very well. And this thing is very easy to handle. You don't have to deal with a very loud pump. By the end of the day, the value of these sprayers is dependent on your environment, your situation. So you get to decide the value of these sprayers to you and how they work for you. So thank you guys so much for watching. I hope this gives you an idea of how these different electric sprayers compare to each other, from something as expensive as $120 to something that's half their price, and how different designs can impact their performance as well. Now I know the IK just came out, but I didn't want to just do a hype video for the IK. Despite how good it is, I do think that there are some disadvantages that people should be aware of before they pull the trigger on something as expensive as this. Now I got these sprayers with my own money just because I really believe in these electric sprayers versus the regular hand pumping sprayers. They just take up so much time and a lot of effort as well. So if you guys are interested in one of these, I'll have affiliate links in description. So if you purchase through them, I get a little kickback. It helps me make more of these videos. So thanks again for watching. I hope this kind of gives you a good idea of these different sprayers, and I'll see you guys in the next video. Bye.